time is now. The time is now for us to step forward and put ourselves in positions to add to the youth force in TCI. And we will never know how much we can actually do, how much we can actually achieve if we don't try.
Welcome to Pushing Your Peace Podcast, the #1 podcast in the region for living a progressive and happier life. If young people are the future, shouldn't they have a voice in shaping it? On this episode, we're joined by Christanae Lewis as we dive into the importance of the Youth Tribunal and why creating spaces for youth voices in the Turks and Caicos Islands matters now more than ever. From leadership and representation to tackling issues like the rising cost of living, this conversation highlights the power of youth engagement and meaningful dialogue. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss an episode. Sit back, relax, and let's get ready to push some peace. So, when Christanae Lewis graduated high school, what did she want to be in life?
Ooh, that's a good question, and it's a funny story. When I graduated high school, I had my mindset that I was going to be a medical technologist, right? And I remember one day I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, Mommy, I think I want to be a med tech. I think medical technology is pretty cool and stuff. And it seemed interesting to me. And my mommy was like, okay, that's nice, but you scared of blood, and you're like, how you going to be a med tech? That's not adding up to me. Like, you're right. Actually, you're right. So I had to, reshift and change lanes.
So you had ambitions to do med.
Yes.
And then you pivot. What caused the pivot and what did you pivot to?
Yeah, so I would say the pivot came naturally for me realizing what I was good at without having to force or even try too hard. One day I was doing some accounts homework. This was right before I graduated high school, actually. And I remember I was sitting to the table, and I wouldn't say the first time, but it was one of the very, very few times where I felt like, okay, this doesn't actually feel like a bore. I actually kind of enjoy working through these numbers. And that led me to say, okay, maybe this is something I need to pursue a career in. So I did then pivot and say, okay, let me start looking into finance careers and accounting careers. Currently, I work with InterHealth Canada, so I still ended up working in a hospital, just in a different arena. And prior to starting my job at InterHealth, I worked in external audit with an auditing firm.
So, I mean, we hear about the career. We hear that you actually end up in a hospital. But tell us about your educational pursuits. Where did you study? How did that go?
Mm-hmm. So for my educational pursuits, I pursued my bachelor's degree in Jamaica at the Northern Caribbean University. After I completed that, I came back home and I worked and I enjoyed my job, I enjoyed my career. But I remembered something that my social studies teacher always told us. She would always say that the upcoming generations need to improve and they need to be better than the previous generations. And that led me to think, okay, most of my family members stopped their education at the bachelor's degree level. How can I then improve on that? And I said, okay, maybe I should consider doing a master's degree. At the time, the thought was very, very daunting to me, like a master's, how I can do any master's, right? But through encouragement from friends and encouragement from family, they was like, no, consider it. And so I considered it. I looked into options, I looked at schools, but then I realized something else, Leo. Master's degrees are very expensive. So then I had to think and say, okay, how am I going to fund this master's degree? And a friend of mine told me maybe you should consider applying for Achieving Scholarship. Now, I'm not sure how much you know about Achieving Scholarships, but their acceptance rate is very, very low. It's not very high. And so I told her, I like the way that you rate me, but that seems kind of out of reach. It seems a bit challenging, but I'll try it anyway and see what happens. So, I did try it. I wrote my essays, did my application, applied to my schools, and through the grace of God, and one of my biggest accomplishments to date, I was successful in achieving the Achieving Scholarship. The year that I got it, which was 2021, was actually also the first time that 3 TCI Islanders got it at the same time, which was a very monumental period in our country. So, yeah.
Hey, absolutely. Well, congratulations on that and also successfully completing that. Now, tell us about your transition coming back home. And, you would have ventured into the UK.
Mhm.
Was there any point that you thought, man, I lived to him. I think even after getting the scholarship, I would want to try and, move out of. Did that thought ever cross your mind? And also, what motivated you to come back home?
Mm. Thank you. That's a really, really good question. I would definitely say the thought did. I wouldn't even say it sat in my mind, it sweeps through my mind. Because the minute the thought came to me, I had to ask myself as well, okay, I'm living in the UK. And of course, I love the UK. It's a very, very big country, and it was a nice place to live when I lived there. However, I have the opportunity to now take what I've learned and take it back home with me and develop my country, the country that grew me up. Why would I now take my skills, use it to develop someplace else that hasn't invested in me the way the TCI has? And so with that in mind, I was like, okay, let me pack up my Josie bundle and we're going back home after graduation.
Absolutely amazing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have Christanae.
Mhm.
I'm pronouncing it right?
Yes.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have Christanae on the show. And we are here to talk about the Youth Tribunal that's happening this week on the 20th at 6 p.m.
Mhm.
on Open Thought Communications Facebook page. If you haven't RSVP, and I believe that's been booked out. Kristen, tell us a bit about the tribunal and how it came about.
Yes. So the tribunal came about actually from two very, very innovative, intelligent, and TCI forward persons, those being yourself, Leo, and Andy Mizik, the president of the Rotaract Club. And it really was birthed from a similar initiative held by the Rotaract Club in Grand Turk. Leo would have reached out to Andy and said to him, this has been done in Grand Turk. How can we now bring this to Provo and do it on an even wider scale? And that collaboration, that initiative led them to saying, okay, let's do it. Leo was going to provide the production, Andy's going to gather the people. But then they realized something else that was important. While they're doing their thing, someone needs to be able to now coordinate the event. And this is where I enter the picture. They reached out to me. And when they reached out to me at first, I was like, "What? Yeah, can I actually do this? And of course, I was a bit hesitant, but I realized the time is now. The time is now for us to step forward and put ourselves in positions to add to the youth force in TCI. And we will never know how much we can actually do, how much we can actually achieve if we don't try. And so that's the background of how the Youth Tribunal came out. And what the Youth Tribunal is, it's going to be a youth parliamentary style sitting, not in the formal parliamentary house, which is why we're calling it a tribunal. And we're going to have 17 young persons, all from various backgrounds, various sectors, to add their voices and opinions on a pivotal topic that's very important to the minds of everyone right now in the TCI, which is, should the cost of living match the current development in the TCI? So they're going to come, they're going to lend their voices to the topic, and the audience as well is going to have the chance to give their input and tell us how they feel about the topic as well. In attendance, we're going to have dignitaries, we're going to have guests, and for those that did not RSVP and unfortunately won't be able to attend in person because the capacity is limited, it is going to be live streamed to give everyone the opportunity to watch it and to give their feedback in that way as well. So it's going to be a very, very transformative initiative. It's going to be impactful. It's going to be powerful, and I'm really looking forward to the things that come out of it.
Now, Christina, you get this opportunity, you get this call, you accept it.
Mhm.
What's your first action step now having this opportunity? What was your vision now for the youth tribunal now that you had accepted the role?
So after accepting the role, the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, this is going to be a large scale event, and I can't do this on my own. So I need to identify some people that will first understand the importance of the initiative, the importance of the vision behind it, and the importance of ensuring that it's coordinated successfully. And so once I did that, I said, okay, I have the people in place. Now I need to have a actual structure. But because this is the first time that we are doing it, yes, people are gonna come and they're gonna think, oh, they haven't done this before. It's probably gonna be, so. It's probably not gonna be organized. But I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be very, very organized because why we're being very, very intentional. We're putting a lot of thought into it, not just to like the big details, who's going to speak, the time allotted, but to the smaller details as well. And so, with structure, intentionality, and a concrete vision for the event, I believe those are what are going to really make it stand out and make people realize that we are young people. Yes, we may not have the years on our side, we may not have the formal experience on our side, but the love that we have for our country is what drives us, and that love is what's going to really propel us to do something great with this initiative.
Now, Christanae, amazing job so far. I mean, I'm biased by saying this, obviously, because I've been working with you. But I'll
Mhm.
say this, though. Uh, Brianna Wilcott spoke so highly of you. And it's great to have local people who take initiatives like this very serious. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no pay in this. This is purely for the love of country. And when you look at the long term of this, right? The long term goals of this, right? Why is events like this important for us as young people?
Thank you for that, Leo. And before I answer that question, I do want to, if you'd allow me, to give a shout out to Brianna on her promotion to Senior Program Manager with the Department of Youth. It's very, very well deserved. I'm very proud of you. Congratulations, Brianna, on your promotion. And to answer your question as well, I think the main reason that having youth lend their voices now to discussions is because what's going to happen in the future, there's going to be choices and decisions made, and there's going to be things in place that we inherit. But if we don't get the opportunity to add our voice now to what's going to happen, when the future comes and we have to inherit the consequences, that's literally it. You have to inherit the consequences and accept them for what they are. But by having a voice to them now, it can help us to drive those in the future. So when the future comes, we already have a solid system in place and we're not put at a disadvantage.
Absolutely amazing. Now, night of the event.
Mhm,
Walk us through how the program is gonna flow for persons who are looking forward to tuning in.
mhm. So for persons who are looking forward to tuning in, it's going to be a very dynamic event. Yes, you may be hearing Tribunal and you're going to be thinking, oh, there's going to be a lot of speeches. And while yes, we do have 17 speakers, we also have a very segmented program. We're going to have speakers, but in between that, we're going to have entertainment. We're going to get to hear from dignitaries that attend the event. We're going to get to hear from you as the audience. We're also going to get to hear from the speakers and hear what they have to say. We're also going to have a very dynamic host, so I'm looking forward to seeing, and she's going to guide us through the event in a very, very powerful way. So yes, it's going to be speeches done, but that's not the only thing that we're going to have at the event.
Absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, Christanae Lewis, the event coordinator for the Youth Tribunal that's taking place this week. Make sure you guys check in. This is going to be a shift, I would call it, in how we provide platforms for young people here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. We are excited for this event and can't wait to see what comes out of it. Now, Miss Lewis, event coordination. You went from med school to accounting. Where does this event coordination thing come from?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. So event coordination is something I've only really done for like, for family and for smaller events and for a few parties as well. I also have helped the youth department coordinate a few events. And it's something that people have always told me I'm naturally very, very good at because of the eye that I have for detail. And I always used to think that they were just saying that, to make me feel good, to hype me up a little bit. But I think something that I want to say about event coordination is it's really all about having a solid structure in place. Once you have a solid structure in place and you know the elements that you need to have, then you can just sit down and say, okay, I need A, I need B, I need C. Now let me do my math to put it all together so that the end result is positive and the end result is what I need it to be to achieve the goals that I have in mind.
And one thing about event coordination is also the management of money
Mhm.
and a budget. So, you have such a traumatic. Is this something you see in the long term you transitioning into on a full-time scale?
Yes, I actually was literally thinking about it last night. I don't know if I see myself doing it on a full-time scale, but definitely on a smaller scale, like part-time. I think it's something I can see myself doing because I genuinely enjoy it. People may see it as, a lot of the logistic work and the logistical challenges, which, it does happen sometime, but I find it to be a lot of fun, and I find it to be, you know, very, very like, nice to do. I really enjoy it.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this event, you will get to see Christanae Lewis at one of her debut events, I would say, because she's done prior events as well. But this is definitely going to be one of her debut events as an event coordinator. We are excited to not only have her on a team, but also work with her and her energy. And I'll say this, she's been very cross your eyes, dot your T's, conscientious type of person. And I love to work with people like that because they're reliable and they're dependable. And if you're an organization looking to bring on a event coordinator for your up and coming events in this new financial government year, make sure make sure give Miss Lewis a shout. Miss Lewis, I saw you have a little business
Mhm.
component to it. Do you want to mention that as well?
Yeah, so after starting, the initial work for the Youth Tribunal, I did receive a lot of encouragement to start my actual branding. And I do have an existing business in which I do like bookkeeping on the side. So I decided to add a new arm to that business
Okay.
called Silverside Productions. And that's going to be my event management arm of my administrative systems business that I have.
All right, awesome. Well, we wish you the best, Miss Lewis, and thank you so much for being a part of this initiative. And of course, will there be more of the Youth Tribunal, or will this just be a one-time event?
That's a really good question, and I'm happy that you asked it. This is going to be the first event, but it's definitely not going to be the last event. Our aim is to have these events at a minimum quarterly because a lot of young people, they feel as though their voice in the TCI is missing. Their voice in the TCI can't be heard. They feel like the only time they have a voice to speak or they can add value to conversation is via social media, and it gets lost. So we want to do this at least quarterly to let young people know that there are people who want to amplify your voice. There are people who want you to be heard. And we want to give them a space to be exposed to certain things. We want to give them a space to practice their public speaking, to practice their speech writing as well. So that when the future comes and they decide, oh, maybe I want to be a politician. I have experience from speaking on youth tribunals and understanding the importance of adding my voice to the value of my country. So yes.
Now, you say young people. Is there an age range for the tribunal? Do you have to be a minimum age, a maximum age? What's the age range for participating in the tribunal?
So at the moment, we don't have a set age range. If you consider yourself to be a young person or young professional, feel free to reach out to us and indicate your interest. If you're young at heart too and you want to indicate your interest, feel free to do that. We ain't gonna discriminate against you. Indicate your interest. We're not discriminating against anybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christine Lewis. Now, you want to be a guest on Pushing Your Peers podcast if you didn't get to push some peers. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are any word or words that begins with the letter P that has been transformational to your journey? You now have a chance to push your peers.
Okay, so the two P's that came to mind for me, well, actually three. List three. Purity, peace, and patience. In my work and in everything that I do, I like to be proactive. I don't like to sit back and say, oh, well, this might happen, but I don't got to put nothing in place because it's not likely. I like to look ahead and say, oh, there's an 80% chance this can happen. Let me do something to prevent that. I like to be proactive. I like to be the person to add peace, stormy seas. In my family, I've always been that peacemaker. When people, rowing and arguing on a can't see eye to eye, I'm always that peaceful middleman to say, you'll have to relax and calm yourself down. And I'm also a person who, in my opinion, I'm very, very patient. Patience is something that's very, very important for me. And patience, and a lot of times, is the difference between you making a bad choice and getting into plenty trouble that you can get out of, to you making a good choice and, keeping out of trouble. I think those are my three P's. Yeah.
I love being proactive. We have a saying we are rather reactive than proactive in this country. So I love that P. It's the first time I've heard that P on the show. So amazing job. Now, Christanae,
Yes.
uh, there's still one more question I got for you. And it's a spin-off question.
Mhm.
Are you ready for the
Mhm.
spin-off question?
I'm ready.
Okay. If you could swap lives with any fictional character for a day, who would it be and why? Any fictional character.
That's a good question. With any fictional character? Okay, this character is actually a man, but I'm still gonna say it. I think it would be Spider-Man. Because the way that
Whoa,
he can
Marvel.
jump on those buildings and have all those nice views, I think that's so cool. And I like to travel, so be able to see things from those high rise buildings, I think that would be really cool.
That's pretty cool. It's crazy. I thought about a Marvel superstar too when I was looking at this question. Tony Starks.
Mm,
Yeah, I think I would probably be the Tony Stark's billionaire and highly intelligent. I like that. I think we got something common. We're Marvel
yeah.
fans. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
But Christine, thank you so much for coming on the show. Any final words, and also how can persons find you and contact you for event coordination in the future?
Yeah, thank you, Leo, for having me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And I can't end without giving a shout out to you and Andy for number one, having the vision and the collaborative nature to even bring this event together. Because I think things like that are what we really, really need in this country. People to come together and work together and say, I see the need for this. I have this skill set and you have this skill set. Let's see how we can bring those things together, to improve something that needs to be improved in our country. So I really, really commend you guys for that, and I'm really, really enjoying working with you. And I hope to see more collaboration between us in the future. In terms of how people can contact me, I literally yesterday created an Instagram page for my event business, which is silversideprods.tc. So you can contact me there. Yes, thank you. Reach out to me by Instagram DM and I'll get back to you. If you want to call me as well, you can reach me at 246-6422 for all of your event coordination and event management needs.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Christanae Lewis, the event coordinator for one of the what is looking to be one of the most popular youth events in the country for the summer, the Youth Tribunal. She's the event coordinator. Make sure you guys reach out to her if you have any further details. Of course, it's been a pleasure having it on this show. And of course, thank you for tuning in. And we will see you guys next week on Pushing Your Peace podcast.